Well, all right. I think we can get started while we get other people joining. We already had people here. So the first thing I'm going to do is just turn on my light, the on air, because that means we are ready to kick things off. Good morning, good afternoon, good night, wherever you're joining us today. For me, it's a beautiful morning here in Costa Rica, where I'm currently based. So please don't be jealous of me right now because it's hot. It's sunny. It's beautiful for being in the beach right now, but I'm here with you today, so that's important. But I hope things are doing great for you today as well. So welcome to all of you. Please let us know in the chat where are you joining from. Hey, before we diving into stuff, I really want to share something that might shock you the way that shocked me when I was reading about this. Um, Turns out that the average university IT department that normally get a very small slice of the institutional budget. Let's kick things off over there. Like it's already a small budget. It's they spend 73% of that budget, that is already small, in maintaining legacy systems. And that just leaves 27% for innovation. So meanwhile, on the other hand, you have students and teachers, all of us, uh, using amazing user experience level applications in our day to day. And we expect the same thing for campus applications or internal platforms in our universities. So just think about that for a moment. While students and teachers are ordering food, booking rides, and managing their entire social lives through great mobile apps, they are forced to use university systems that are probably just spreadsheets or even tools that look and feel like they were built in 2005. And it's because they probably were. So, with that, we can say that universities that have embraced low code development and are building new student facing or internal teacher applications, they're doing it 10 times faster. Hear me out, 10 times faster than traditional development approaches. So the thing is, they're not just keeping up with the student expectations, they're actually maybe even exceeding that. So with that said, I think we can get started. Um, Welcome everyone to the high impact apps for universities, build and ship fast with low code. I'm Kevin Blanco. I'm a senior developer advocate here at Appsmith. And before we kick things off and I bring people into the stage so we can get them to share everything that they have prepared, just wanted to keep a little housekeeping before we get started. The first thing is this is your session. You own it, okay? So we are recording it and we're going to share this later on. So don't worry about taking notes. Just focus on what we'll discuss and make sure to ask questions. And that's the second thing. We have the Q&A section. That's where you can ask all of your questions. Do not wait until the end. If you have a questions, put it there and we'll probably answer at the end when we have the moment for Q&A, but don't wait until that to make your question. Go there, have it ready, have it open and be ready to to ask all of your questions. And last thing, tell us, like, what do you do? We'd love to know if you represent a university or you're just here because you want to see how low code can impact and increase the speed of innovation. But yeah, let us know. Don't wait until the end. Engagement makes this infinitely more valuable for everyone. So with that said, let's kick things started, the first thing, let's go over the agenda. The first thing we're going to talk is a little bit more about the state of the IT in higher education. Then we're going to showcase a demo about multi-data source grant applications, which is super important for the things we just mentioned at the beginning. Then we're going to talk about approval workflows. Again, extremely important and key for managing universities. And we'll do a little live Q&A at the end. So who's joining here with me today? I'm Kevin, already told I'm a developer advocate. I have with me Michael Peach. He is the VP of marketing. Hey, Michael, how's it going?
Doing great. Thanks so much, Kevin. Really looking forward to the session here today.
Awesome. Well, we also have Joseph. If you haven't seen Joseph before, he's the master of the magic of Appsmith. Anything that you can think about that needs to be built with Appsmith, Joseph can build it. He's our head of developer relations. And Joseph, how's it going on your end?
Hey, pretty good. Thanks, Kevin. Looking forward to it. Got an awesome demo ready. Some new integrations and new features, and just excited to show what we got.
Awesome. And next, I'm going to present somebody who speaks the way I would love to speak. His voice is just warm, and you will see his demo is so easy to understand from Keith. He is our Director of Strategic Solutions. Keith, how's it going, man?
Very well. Excited to be here and really looking forward to the conversation today.
Okay, awesome. Well, that's everyone, and I'm seeing on the comments that we got people already reporting. We had somebody from Malaysia. That is so amazing. I'm always excited about the internationality, if that's even a word, of Appsmith. That we got people from so many places using our product, and people interest about how low code can empower you. So let's get things started. I'm gonna hand it over to Michael from here to start talking about the real facts about IT internal management.
Excellent. Thanks so much, Kevin. And again, just to reiterate, thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today. And I have the privilege, I think, to just talk a little bit about the world that we've seen with a number of the higher education institutions that we work with. And I hope some of this resonates and sounds familiar to those of you who are joining us today. I think there's really kind of a unique role that low code can play in the higher ed space. But let's start by acknowledging kind of the reality that IT teams face today, right? You're being asked to deliver modern digital experiences to students and to your faculty who really have grown up, especially students now, so technology native that they expect everything to be seamless. But you're doing it, as Kevin said, with limited budgets and frankly, pretty lean teams. So despite all of the innovation that we're seeing in the private sector, higher ed IT just gets about 4% of budget. You're managing still really big systems, SIS, LMS, enrollment tools, and fielding more app requests every semester. So the gap between the demand and resources, frankly, from a technology perspective, is really only growing. If you want to head to the next slide. So I think most of you, and certainly in the conversations that we've had with folks in higher education IT, is you've got some core systems in place, and these systems work pretty well. They do a good job of talking to each other, and core processes that work only across these systems and these systems alone, they operate pretty smoothly. However, those don't really represent all of the processes and all of the work that your teams are doing. There's a bunch of smaller, let's call them in-between processes, whether they're things like approvals, proposals, scheduling, internal workflows that don't, for whatever reason, kind of fully work across or happen within these systems. And these are the processes that create bottlenecks. They aren't big enough to justify full development projects or new system purchases, but they're really critical for operations. And as a result, they often get pushed to spreadsheets or email chains or shadow IT or little applications built in silos. And this results in a number of issues with these processes. First off, there's not a ton of visibility into them. It's hard to see this kind of stuff when it's happening across several different spreadsheets. And when something goes wrong, you can't see it, you can't support it, and you can't fix it. And as a result, these things sort of get patched or hacked together instead of really repaired and properly maintained. The other problem is the processes that are hacked together with spreadsheets or homegrown apps are really kind of fundamentally insecure. They don't have the right availability, they don't have the right access controls, and it means that stakeholders don't have consistent access to information. Over time, these processes and applications multiply, and it starts to meaningfully degrade faculty and student experiences. So this is why low code platforms really seem like a natural solution. And if you look at sort of market data, higher education is really outperforming in terms of adoption, right? It makes it much easier and faster to build custom applications. They can increase the productivity of your development team, or they can even empower less technical stakeholders to build apps, right? So we're expecting to see, at least according to the stat here from Grandview Research, low code platform adoption in the ed sector was going to grow by nearly 25% over the next 5 years. Next slide, please. But of course, not all platforms are created equally. A lot of the big name platforms that often come to mind when you think about low code, they're expensive and they're complex. And by the time you sort of fully implemented the platform and trained your team in a lot of their proprietary technologies or scripting languages or DevOps processes, the time and the cost savings are largely gone. And on the other side, you have these sort of very lightweight sort of no-code tools that are primarily aimed at what are often called citizen developers or non-technical folks. But these tools really lack often the governance, the flexibility, or the security that you really require. So they essentially allow your team to build about a 70 to 80% of a solution, but they don't really have the capability to get to a fully functional application that aligns with your specs, right? So you end up essentially stuck between overkill on one side and underpowered on the other side. And this is really where Appsmith comes in. We offer a unique low-code platform that works really well for higher ed application development. We're open source, highly flexible, and very cost-effective. You can self-host Appsmith in your own infrastructure, whether that's AWS, Azure, Google Cloud, and you're never locked in. Appsmith flexibly supports a wide range of automation development projects, so you can create automated workflows with human-in-the-loop approval steps. You can build full-stack applications from scratch. You can integrate data from your core software systems, knowledge stores, or internal databases, and you can create even custom UI or forms that embed within your existing applications. With full role-based access control, single sign-on, audit logging, Appsmith checks all of the boxes for IT security, but it doesn't do so while compromising usability or compromising speed. So whether you're closing app gaps or enabling citizen developers within a controlled environment, Appsmith very much scales with your needs. The next slide, please. And just to underscore that, right, it's not just about helping you build fast, it's really about helping you build right. As I said before, with self-hosting, with SAML SSO integration, with SCIM integration for users, right, from Active Directory, for example. You can just import your users and groups and permissions and apply them across the applications that you're building with Appsmith. The full audit logs for observability, to a platform that is SOC 2 compliant. It's very much built for institutions that need to move quickly, but still need to have that governance layer in place across all of the applications that you build. And that's what Appsmith brings to the table. But enough of me telling you about it, as everyone wants to see exactly how this works. Let me hand it back over to Kevin and our crack team of Appsmith experts, Joseph and Keith, excuse me, to really walk through and show you how this stuff works.
Yes. All right, let's just bring up the couple of demonstrations that Joseph and Keith have prepared for you both, for you everyone. And we should start seeing that right now.
The common issues we've heard from universities is that they're still tied to spreadsheets for certain operations. Even though they have a system for HR and payroll and different platforms to collect all of this information, a lot of times they don't have all of the data, and so they're not able to save yet because of required fields. Or maybe only one person has access to that system. And so you have to collect requests from multiple people, and then one person enters the data. So as much as they'd like to get away from spreadsheets, there are still certain jobs where they need it. So let's see how we can solve this with Appsmith. All right, here I have a spreadsheet of hiring requests. These are submitted by different departments, and there's a different salary amount. There are different funding sources. So a lot of different criteria here, different rules for each budget. So what's the total salary for staff? All right, so it says it's found 4 records, which looks right here, and it's got all the right numbers there. It's able to total it up, and it's filtering data. So it can pull certain rows and then give you summary data, and it can also send information to another system. So let's look at the ones that are pending over here. All right, so it's found 3 that are in pending. And let's submit the first one. That's 001 to Workday. All right, you can see it's just ran that action to create a student in Workday. And so we've added a new record over here. And next we can send an email to let a coworker know this is complete. So draft an email to Jamie. Let him know this is complete. All right, so it's ran that action to create a draft email. And if we look over here in my drafts, here I have a email started to Jamie for that position, HR001, and it looks good, but there was one thing I forgot to add. So let me tell him the other ones that are pending. Okay, so we just submitted number 1. Just going to let him know these are the others. By the way, here are the remaining requests. All right, so that looks good. It's able to pull information from the spreadsheet, whether you're viewing it or you're in your mail. You could be in Salesforce or Workday or any other platform and draw information from the spreadsheet, use it to fill out data in other platforms. So this is a great way to bridge that data from multiple systems and make it easier to do data entry and retrieval.
Hey there, Keith from Appsmith here. I wanted to show a common use case that I see a lot of folks in the education space dealing with, and that is just dealing with common workflows, working with many systems, many different roles, and a student and university relationship. So this example that I have right here, probably one you're familiar with, student requests a course change via a website or another system. That change goes to an academic advisor, which makes sure it's all packaged up and it makes sense. The registrar would actually approve or deny that course change, and then the academic advisor and the student would be notified of that. You probably have done literally this or something very similar, so I wanted to walk through how this might look in Appsmith. And to help sort of tell this story, I'm going to be playing the role of academic advisor, and Devin is going to be playing the role of registrar. So let's take a look how this looks. Here's an application that we have built for exactly this use case. The items on the left are various classes, or should I say class change requests or course requests that we have received. These are all different students that are requesting either to drop or add a class. So again, taking on the role of academic advisor, I can take a look at these. And I recall having this conversation with Bob Smith, who wants to add a principle of marketing class here. So I'll click on this and take a look at this. All this information looks a-okay. So I'm going to request the approval and send that request over to the registrar. And as you can see, the principal of marketing, Bob Smith, is in review status. So we'll kick this over to the registrar or Devin, and we'll go from there.
Hi, I'm Devin, and I'm playing the role of registrar. So here in the dashboard, I can see a request from a student who wants to drop principles of marketing. We've got some metadata here that your other systems need to process the request. Our backend is going to manipulate that data in the way your other system expects it. Normally, you'd never see this, but we've left it in today so you can see what's happening behind the scenes. And everything looks in order, so I pressed select approve, and we're done. That's it for me. Back to you, Keith.
Thank you, Devin. Thank you, registrar. Anyway, as you can see now, I'm back in my application and class change requests. Some of these have changed, including principal of marketing. Bob Smith wants to add this class, and it has been approved. Excellent. So I'll click on this, and I even have a button here to send the confirmation. In this case, it's via email. The student will get that via email. But I do want to point out we have out of the box integrations. So if you wanted to be notified that classes were coming or going or being approved or need approval via email or text message or Slack or via MS Teams, any of these things we should be able to handle for you. But it's more just getting an idea of how it actually works in Appsmith. And an application like this takes less than a day to build. So really easy stuff. Hope that helps, and we'll see you in the next one.
Thank you so much, Joseph. Thank you so much, Keith. That was a lot. That was a lot. A lot of things happen over there. So make sure to ask all of your questions in the QA section in case you have any. But I think we can continue to move forward for the next slide.
All right, I think this one's me. So we're going to talk a little bit about different use cases. AppSmith is great for those simple, quick apps where you just want to throw together something with a single data source. So on that end, we have a student research grant application tracker here, or faculty directory management apps. These you could build on top of Google Sheets or Airtable or any database that you want to use, but they're more of a single purpose one table for CRUD or a chart. So we can build anything from that into the medium or complex section here. For medium course proposal or submission review tools, we've got IT service request dashboard integrated with ServiceNow and a student advising notes tracker, and then a Workday analytics extension. So all of these are a little more advanced, and we're starting to tie into different APIs like Workday and ServiceNow. And that's still pretty easy to do. So then on the complex side, we have embedded learning management systems and multi-app integrations. So Appsmith supports embedding two different ways. You can embed Appsmith inside of another web app, and that could be an app that you developed, something that your university did in-house, or it could be embedding Appsmith inside of your LMS or inside of Salesforce or anywhere else that you want to use Appsmith. It can be embedded pretty much anywhere, and it will share the login. So your users won't have to log in twice. They are logged into your parent application, whether that's Salesforce, ServiceNow, your website, whatever it is. And AppSmith can detect that login and just share it. So you still have an audit trail, you know who did what. So that's one type of embedding. You can also embed other websites or services inside of an AppSmith app. So the parent is AppSmith this time, and then you can embed something else there so that you're not bouncing back and forth between different tabs. So lots of different ways to approach these problems, everything from the simple CRUD app with one data source to embedding and multiple data sources and APIs. So lots of use cases. Another slide there. Okay.
Definitely a big set of use cases, and it can be even bigger. I bet it can be even bigger because that's the beauty of Appsmith, where you literally have the chance to build exactly what you need with the business logic that as well you need, and you can define with JavaScript functionality and connect it to multiple data sources, which we integrate more than 40 native data sources. And if it's not native built, you can use the API, the GraphQL, or the standard SQL Server or Microsoft SQL Server or SQL or Postgres. Literally, all of the options are there for you to start building exactly what your IT university department needs with a reduced amount of time and, of course, reduced cost. So I will encourage everyone to right now start asking all of your questions because we went through a lot and I know that could be packed. So definitely is the right time to start asking all of your questions. Make sure to do it in the QA panel, not in the comments section, because in the QA panel it's going to be easier for all of us to start picking them up. I actually see that. Let me bring that up. I have one question. Let me see if I can bring that over. It's interesting how um, how many things you have on Zoom, and it's easy to get lost. Okay, let me just start sharing for a second. All right. So one of the things that I'm seeing here in the questions panel is, can Appsmith use data from student information systems like Workday or Lucian? I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. And I'm going to relate this to Joseph because he is the integration master. As I said at the beginning, anything that can be built with Appsmith, he will build it. So Joseph, let's talk about integrations. Like, can you use student data from those systems into Appsmith?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Now, this is one that we don't have a native integration for, but anything with the REST API we can connect to easily. You're able to save the credentials securely to a data source so that you can share that app with, with students or different staff members, and you're not giving them that API key. And then another interesting feature that we have is once you've made that connection, you've saved the data source and you have that credential, you can set up granular access control so that you can share the app with different users, different levels of permissions, and it will control who's allowed to do what. So the API key that you save might have full access, but then the app that you build can limit who can do what so that it's not giving full access to everyone. So definitely possible. We have native integrations for things like HubSpot and a lot of other like CRMs and APIs, but if it's not native, we can still easily connect to it through the API. So yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. That is definitely correct. And actually, Joseph, there's another question that's probably for you because
Okay.
we're getting a question about user authentication. So the question is, how does user authentication work when you embed a form in an existing application? And I know you have embedded Appsmith apps in multiple ways. So how does that work?
Yeah. I mentioned a little bit about it on the slides when we were talking about use cases, but just to get a little more into the technical side of it, um, you can embed Appsmith inside any other website. And when you create that iframe tag, there's a certain attribute you can put in there that says which type of SSO is your parent app using. So the parent website that you're embedding in. You can tell it that you're using Google SSO or Okta or OIDC or SAML, whatever it is. And so that's your site and you control that iframe, right? So it's your code that you're writing that enables Appsmith to be able to share that login. And because it's set up that way, you don't have to worry about somebody else finding the link for your app and embedding it on their site and trying to post data to it. It's very locked down so that you're controlling both sides, the parent and the child application. And it makes it seamless so that you can share that login and it's the same user in that parent app and in Appsmith as that embedded app.
That's exactly correct. That's exactly the type of answering I was expecting from you. We got a question from the audience as well. It says, is it possible to create a simple system which can collect the details of the customer using a form and then allows finance planning for education? I can answer a little bit on this and maybe someone else can extend, but it is possible. The Appsmith UI section, it allows you to create the form with all of the fields that you want. There are multiple options for you to build exactly the type of questions you need to ask. And the good thing about Appsmith applications is that, yes, they can remain completely private, be accessible only to the people you want, given the type of roles or permissions that they have. But you can also make them public, or you can make sure that they can be embedded in a secure place. But yes, once you have that particular form ready in the way you need, you can drive the content and information that's being entered in that particular form to any system. And that's the beauty of the integrations we've talked. Whether that is a simple spreadsheet and say, I'm just going to collect this for the finance planning team, or it can even go to an existing system that you have, as long as that system provides an API, which is just a very simple integration layer that most of the system already have, or they might have even a database connection way. that you can just connect with Appsmith easily. You don't have to write any code. You just enter the credentials as logging in into your YouTube account or your Google account. It's very easy. And we'll manage all of the integration for you. All that it matters is that the data that people enter in that particular form will end up in the right systems for you to make decisions. And of course, if you want to extend that, it's even easier because once you have the data and it's already connected to Appsmith, you can start building reports. You can drag and drop graphs and you can drag and drop tables and lists, and the data is already there. So it's very easy to also bring that data into the particular UI components you drag and drop. It's extremely easy. And then you will just really literally say, get the data from this place into this graph. And then you can even filter the data in a way that you define the form. Let's say you have multiple questions, and then you can use those particular questions to make filters or make the graphs function the way exactly your team needs. So yes, and I hope I did a good job answering that. But if I don't know if somebody else want to extend it, or we can move to the next question.
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
you
those.
covered it.
Yeah, great. There's another question here that says, can you send approval notifications to Microsoft Teams? How does that work? I'll let you answer that, Joseph, as well.
Yeah, again, that's an easy one through the API. It's actually it's really easy to do from the Appsmith side. Honestly, it's probably going to take longer to track down and find where to enable that API key on the Microsoft side and to create the credential. In Appsmith, you can set up that API and send a notification in under a minute. Um, yeah, so the only tricky part is like making sure that you're enabling it from the right account so that it's somebody in Microsoft, that has permissions to message whatever channel that you want. If you're just a regular end user in the organization, you might not have the permissions to send a message in the channel that you want or to enable that API. So super simple on the AppSmith side. Just make sure you're creating that API key with the right permissions on the Microsoft side.
Excellent. Next question. We got a question about single sign-on. Does Appsmith support Shibboleth? And again, I'm hoping I'm pronouncing that correctly. I know Shibboleth is a identity management product. So does Appsmith support Shibboleth integration for single sign-on? And I can take the lead on this one, and maybe if you want to extend later on, Joseph. But the answer is yes. Uh, we can integrate with any type of single sign-on implementation. Most of them support standard implementations of single sign-on, whether if they are SAML 2.0 or IDP or any of those. At the end, it's a standard procedure for authentication management across different systems. And yes, you can implement a single sign-on with multiple providers. We actually have a real step-by-step tutorial on how to integrate easily Appsmith with single sign-on providers, like in this particular case, Azure ID, or what used to be called Microsoft Active Directory. Now they call it Entra ID, and also with Okta, which is one of the two biggest players in the single sign-on field. But again, it's just a protocol. So in any particular case, that should work with Shibboleth, if I'm pronouncing correctly. Is that correct, Joseph?
I can confirm everything that you said about the OAuth and capabilities is correct, but not on the pronunciation. Your guess is as good as mine on that one. Uh,
Unfortunately, I have my Latin America accent playing a big role over there.
yeah, but we do
Okay,
support it. We have at least one university that's using their auth, and I'm not going to try to pronounce it.
awesome. Yeah, uh, that plays a big role. There's actually a video that we are also on our YouTube channel about how easy it is to integrate Claude with Appsmith. So Claude is one of the AI big players in the field. But again, I just said Claude because I was feeling fancy at that moment. So I'm hoping I was pronouncing that correctly. Anyway, next question. What are the differences between your open source and commercial editions? That's definitely a great question. I don't know if either Joseph or you, Michael, want to take the answer of this one.
Yeah, I can take a first stab at it, and then maybe Joseph can hop in. I think the important thing is I would say that from a core functionality perspective, there really isn't a huge difference. Commitment to open source is something that's very important for us. And as a result, we've really made sure that we wanted to have what was a very usable product that was completely open source. And it is. Our community edition is available under the Apache 2.0 license, so it is legitimately and truly open source. And you can use it and do what you want with it in pretty much any way. So what's the difference between our open source and commercial editions? Well, a couple things. One is obviously hosting. So if you would like to have a nicely maintained cloud instance of Appsmith, or even a standalone managed hosted instance of Appsmith, that's something that's only available on our commercial edition. And then similarly, a lot of the features that we talked about in terms of governance and management, right? So if you want to integrate with your shibboleth, I think is the correct pronunciation, for example, or if you want to import your users from Microsoft Active Directory and apply sort of more advanced roles and access controls to different types of applications. Those are a lot of the core features that are available within our commercial editions, either our business or enterprise tiers. And that's really kind of the biggest difference between our commercial and open source versions. Joseph, I don't know if there's anything else you'd want to add or highlight there.
That's good. The one thing I would add though is the free, completely open source edition. You're free to use that indefinitely forever if you want. But we advise starting out with the commercial edition because there is a free version bundled in that. And that saves you a ton of headache when it comes time to migrate from the free version to paid. So at any point, if you decide you want to upgrade, and you're on the commercial edition, you're just unlocking it. You put in the key and then all those features are there. You don't have to migrate any of your apps or users. But if you start out on the purely open source edition, you can migrate. You just have to export all of your apps, recreate those users, reconnect SSO. So there's a little more hoops to jump through, which is why we made the commercial free version. So it's not open source, it's part of the commercial version, but within that, you can use it for free. It starts out as a trial. If you decide you don't want to upgrade, it will just downgrade you to the exact same feature set as that open source version. So no difference feature-wise, but it saves you a ton of work later if you decide to migrate.
Awesome. I was already taking advantage of the next question and I went ahead and published something in the chat, but I will put it again in just a second because we got another question that says, can we build, I guess, can we tool which sync Google Tasks with Apple Tasks? And the answer is yes. And this is a particularly great use case for a workflow. So at the end, a workflow is very similar to an application. It's just that doesn't have any UI, doesn't have a visual component aspect of it. But it can have any type of business logic and it can have any type of connection. Again, an API, a database, and so on and so forth. And so with that said, yes, I do know because I've even done that integration before that Google Tasks does have an API, which I'm putting the reference on the chat right now, in case you want to take a look at that. And with a simple query, you can get tasks, insert tasks, delete task, update task, or delete task from your Google specific account or from any type of implementation of Google Tasks. And then there's also the API from Google Maps, sorry, from Apple. That's called App Store Connect API. So the App Store Connect API is a mechanism, it's like a middleware to connect API-driven things, like in this particular case, a workflow, to a native iOS application, in this case, tasks. So yes, there is a mechanism to do that. There might be some complexities on the Apple side, but it's not impossible. But when it comes to the Appsmith side, you can then define when that particular workflow is going to run. It can run on demand whenever you click a button or whenever there's something that triggers that workflow, an email being sent, a new task being created on Google side or on the Apple side, and so on and so forth. It's based upon actions. Or a workflow can run as a cron job. That means it can run every day at the time you want, let's say every day at midnight, or every hour, and so on and so forth. You can define exactly when that workflow is going to run, and nobody have to manually execute that workflow running. So long story short, this is a great example of how good Appsmith is when it comes to connecting multiple data sources. And so you don't have to rewrite all of your legacy systems or all of the tools you're currently using. You don't have to say, I'm going to drop everything for AppSpeed. No, no. You can actually connect all of them and be a tool that drives innovation without having to have a huge headache, because we know how hard a revamp can be, and even more on IT campus systems that are being used for students and teachers every day. So it's not easy to just stop and rebuild everything. So long story short, yes, that's one great use case, and it can be implemented with AppSmith.
Yeah, and one thing I would add, Kevin, you mentioned the workflows can be ran on a cron job schedule or on demand by clicking a button. In this case, I'm pretty sure Google has webhooks when a task is created, assuming that there is a webhook from the service that's initiating it, whether you're creating the task in Google first or Apple first. We can also trigger our webhooks, or sorry, our workflows from a webhook. And so then it becomes almost real time. It's not on demand like you have to go click a button. It's not on a schedule like you're waiting for that, the next hour or whatever it is. It would be triggered by creating a task in one system, and then that would trigger the workflow in Appsmith and then create it in the second system, either direction. But yeah, I just wanted to mention that third trigger type, coming from a webhook, so it's more on demand, in real time as the task is happening, instead of you having to go click a button or wait on a schedule.
Exactly. We got a comment in the comment section saying that it will already have some sort of template or created workflow that we can share. For this particular use case, we don't, but yes, there are two things I would like you to do. The first one is go to our YouTube channel and just find AppSmith workflows, and you will find a lot of videos, not only from our official announcement, but also Joseph has done a lot of different live coding and what we used to call Friday Tech Workshop. Every Friday, Joseph was going to be building something different. There are a lot of use cases where he goes through workflows, connecting different systems, but the principle is the same. It's just an API that has authentication. You are able to connect to that API and then execute some of the calls to that API. In this particular case, your use case will be Google Task API and the Apple Connect App Store API, but the principle is the same. Or also, you can check out the templates section in our website. Go to appsmith.com. You will find the templates section over there. And of course, our official documentation about uh, workflows. And there you will see how easy it is to connect and build the custom logic of your workflow, whatever that is. I'm gonna give it a couple of more minutes to anyone who have any other question. But in the meantime, I would like to just acknowledge that we've covered a lot of ground today. So I would like to first of all leave you with some key takeaways. The first thing is that AppSpeed actually speed up your competitive advantage. Like universities building applications in weeks, not just months like they used to do, and are creating better user experience and freeing up the IT resources for innovation. That's the first thing I would like to acknowledge. Like we saw in a demo that took only 6 minutes, how this can happen, sorry, without breaking your legacy systems or rewriting everything. So it's the speed of innovation without breaking your existing stack. The second thing is that you don't need to choose between speed and security. We had a lot of questions around single sign-on and authentication and managing the roles and the existing users you have. That's the beauty of AppSmith as a low-code platform. It can do rapid development, but with enterprise-grade security controls that IT definitely needs on the university grade. So you probably already have your identity management where you have all of your students, all of your teachers, and all of your managers. They already have permissions, they already have roles, you already have policies. So Appsmith is a system that can just connect to that particular existing layer and can be able to also have that access control at your application level, as well your workflows. And the third thing I wanted to talk is that AI integration doesn't have to be overwhelming. And that's one of the biggest thing that I see in the AI field. There's a lot of noise and everything seems to be kind of hard to implement. But Joseph showed us how easy you can integrate with an AI enabled tool that, again, is able to access your data layer, where that is just in a spreadsheet on Google Drive or an Excel spreadsheet, or whatever that is, or can even connect to multiple systems, your existing student management system, your existing LMS, and so on and so forth, and is capable of implementing AI tools that can speed up different processes without actually being extremely overwhelmed. And that's the things I wanted to just say that I got from this specific webinar, while we maybe got any other questions. And I see one. Does Appsmith conform to the BPMN standards? Does Appsmith conform with the BPN standards? Do we know anything about this, Joseph?
I've heard of the standard, business process management, I think, but you know, we're a platform that lets you build whatever app that you want. It's pretty open and flexible, and it's up to the developer to try to build an app in a way that conforms to certain standards. We've had a similar question on accessibility standards, and there's nothing stopping you from making an app with a dark background and dark text that's not going to be very readable, right? Like we give you all the tools to build whatever you want, but we're not locking things down in a way that force you to do certain design patterns like that. So it is possible to build something that would meet those requirements. It's also possible, that you're going to build something that goes completely against it or against accessibility because we don't have those guardrails like a lot of no-code platforms. They they really limit what you can do in a way that makes simple use cases easy. But then when you get to more complex things, those guardrails get in the way, and
Mhm.
you're walled in, and you can't finish what you wanted to build with that, easy no-code platform. So we're a lot more powerful, but that also puts you as the developer in charge of things like that to meet certain standards.
Okay. Yeah. No, that's true. Like that's the beauty of open source and the beauty of openness, like you mentioned. You can literally implement things the way you need. And if that means being compliant to a specific process, also if that means business process model notation, that is like an executable process documentation language, yes, of course you can. Whether that means to be compliant to a specific implementation mechanism or to a security standard, which, like we mentioned at the beginning, Appsmith is SOC 2 compliant, and as well in the way that data can be managed in your application. You can definitely continue to support all of those uh, compliances in terms of security and processes implementation. So I will say that, long story short, yes, the answer is a system is as compliant as the person building it, and that's why Appsmith is also the chosen one by multiple institutes who are big enough to having to be compliant to all of these different processes and security protocols. So definitely it can be implemented within AppSmith. Okay, so hey, all of the resources we've mentioned today and everything we talk about also during the Q&A section, we'll be sending up in a follow-up email, but I will definitely encourage you to take the following next steps. The first one is to create your first AppSmith application and account. Hey, it's completely free and it's free forever. It's open source. If you're not a technical person, that's okay. You can just go to appsmith.com, create your account, and try the platform for free forever. But you can also try all of the business features and all of these compliant features just using the Business Cloud trial. Again, You can sign up for free, no credit card required whatsoever, and you will be able to try all of the features that we mentioned, like single sign-on, workflows, packages, and even more. And again, it's completely free. Try it for 30 days, and you can always downgrade to the free version. The second thing is check out the templates. We already talked about the templates, but the beauty of Appsmith is that you do not have to start from scratch. We have official packages, sorry, official templates, but also even community templates from people who are building amazing experiences with Appsmith and they want to share as a template. And all you have to do is connect your data sources, but the existing UI components, JavaScript logic, and everything will continue to remain the same. So that's the beauty of open source again. We have templates for you, and you can use templates not to start from scratch. And the last thing I wanted you to take is the action of going to our YouTube channel. There's a lot of videos over there. Subscribe not only to see the ones that we got, but also get every new video we publish over there, because they're definitely going to be great resources for you to continue implementing amazing innovation at your IT institute level, but also to understand how Appsmith can revolutionize everything you need to do at your core business levels. So with that said, I would like to hand it over to Michael, Joseph, to pretty much say goodbyes.
Awesome. Thanks, Kevin. One last thing I wanted to mention too. We showed a couple new integrations today with Outlook and OneDrive, but there are a bunch of new ones that we didn't even get a chance to go over. Last week, we launched 15 new integrations. We just added Stripe, Jira, Notion, Zendesk, Salesforce, Confluence. I can't remember all of them, but we have more on the way, including SharePoint, which will be really big for universities. So keep an eye out. There's tons of new ones already out there that you can build on today, and even more on the way.
Thank
Yep.
you, Joseph. And I actually have a special gift for everyone who continue to stay all the way here because, and hey, sorry, but I fight for this. It was hard to get this, but I got it for you all. There's a 20% discount on the enterprise plan for everyone who joined today. We'll be sending that on the email for those who join. But hey, that's something that I fired for you. So I hope you take advantage of it because I got in troubles just for getting this thing. Okay. So make sure to get that discount and try it out. And you won't be disappointed about the amazingness of Appsmith at the IT core level. Sorry to interrupt you, Michael, but I have to say that.
No, no, it's go right ahead. So yeah, significant opportunity. We talked a little bit before about the difference between commercial and our open source editions. No reason not to at least take a look at the commercial edition, whether that's a free business trial or a 20% discount for our enterprise edition. We're here, we're standing by, we're ready to help, and we're excited to see what all of you are able to build. So thank you all so much for joining us today.
Exactly. Thank you so much, everyone. Start building right now. Like I said, you can literally start right now. Go to appsmith.com, sign up for the free trial, or take advantage of the 20% discount that I find for you for the enterprise plan. And if you have any questions, just shoot us an email to sales@appsmith.com or even reach out to us on the different mediums you will find on our website. So thank you so much for everyone who joined today. And definitely, we have other events. Go to appsmith.com/events, and we'll see you probably on the next one. Thank you so much for everyone who joined today.